We been putting together what's going on in the last days. It's phrased differently all the way through the Bible, but we've looked at enough stuff now to know we're in the last days. Now, where exactly we are, what day it is, I don't know. But we're getting closer to Jesus' return. That's what we talk about when we're talking about the last days. And what we talked about last week, we're going to keep on going. The book of Revelations is kind of confusing. I mean, it always has been to me. Until you get some terms, some things in Revelation, and you define them, and you know what they mean, it's hard to understand it. And I think what the Lord's been doing for the last 2 or 3 years with us is giving us things that help us to understand where we are. Because everybody's not going to get this. It's not that it's being hid from them, which it is in a way, but they've got to be able to understand it too. So let's look at Babylon, and let's try to figure out what Babylon is. And some Sundays I get up here and I talk so much I don't let anybody get in. You know, you can't get in. Nobody wants to, don't act like. But this time, let's get involved. We're not in any hurry. What we don't get through today, we'll come back next week. So let me start it out in Revelation chapter 18. And really, it starts talking about Babylon in chapter 14, but there's just about 2 full chapters, 17 and 18, that talk about Babylon. It's important in the course of what goes on in the last days. Revelation chapter 18, verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Well, when you read about an angel coming down from heaven and crying, Babylon is fallen, I've heard that somewhere else. That's in chapter 14, verse 8, where we saw, remember, I was talking about there are 3 angels that come down before Jesus raptures the church. First one is preaching the gospel in the heavens. The second one says Babylon has fallen. Let me read that. Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. In 14 verse 8, it's talking about what's happening in chapter 18. So, John goes back to what's happening back here, and God shows him more about Babylon. Well, when you first think about Babylon, I think about Nebuchadnezzar, Book of Daniel, Ezra, Nehemiah, all that bunch, got took in captivity. They were taken captive. And that was kind of an example to us of what's going on today. And we hadn't been taken into captivity. We're not being made to worship an idol or bow down, or are we?
Yeah. Willfully.
Or are we? That's just a little teaser. But the angel said that Babylon has become the habitation of devils, the hold of every foul spirit. That don't sound like a very nice place. cage of every unclean and hateful bird. It sounds like Babylon had been completely taken over by the devil. I mean, they're talking about the devil's bunch. Habitation of devils, the hold of every evil spirit, foul spirit. So what's Babylon doing? Go ahead, brother. I said I'd let y'all live. Go ahead.
Well, my thoughts. If you look on Revelation 17, verse 15, it says that, said unto me that the waters which you saw where the whore sits, and then are peoples of multitudes and nations and tongues. The only thing that comes to my mind on that is New York City, because that's where they have the United Nations, many tongues. That's where the two twin towers had fallen, and there's also the new tower that has them all in it. So that tells me my Amos 101 says New York City's the whore. That's my thoughts. I could be wrong, real easy.
Well, when it says city, that great city, I think we won't know the exact city, and it could be, well, but be New York because of everything you see. But I think we won't know for sure until it happens. We'll know it when it happens. But that it's from that city that it is controlling the world. Babylon's controlling the world through finances, money. And it's become the hold of foul spirits. It's just evil. I mean, evil purposes, evil intents. What's happening in the world financial system? It's just about impossible to be in business for yourself without having to submit to rules and regulations that go against what God said to some extent. What about the cake baker?
Yeah.
He's still fighting lawsuits.
Yeah, they're going after him again.
They're going after him again. And they're putting people up to going in there.
Yeah, they are.
And
Paying them to go
he's
in.
still telling them no, by the way.
Uh-huh.
Here he goes with another lawsuit. A cake baker.
Yeah.
A family-owned business. The little guy. What about the florist?
Same way.
They wouldn't make of. Now I'm talking about things that are out in the open, out, everybody's heard about it. They just about destroyed her and her business. They're not gonna make any money. Well, what about churches that have tax exemptions?
Yeah.
I forget what they call 501.
501c3.
Huh?
501c3.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't make it, and it sounded like a good deal,
It's not.
you know, because you can take what you give to the church off your taxes. But if when you sign up with the government, you're signing up for regulations too.
Yeah.
So now churches that might be listening to this, you do what you think you need to do. I know some of them gonna think I'm nuts. But if you sign up for something, then you're saying you're gonna abide by what the rules are. And I've seen the government change the rules in the middle of the game to suit whoever's in it.
They can change them to suit what they want them to suit.
Right. They got their own agenda. So can you see, we're beginning to see the financial system of the world. And it's not just this country, it's in it's worse in other countries. And you might say, well, I don't see how. Well, these people have been completely, all their rights have been taken away. They don't have any rights. What about Cuba? They're 90 miles off our Florida coast. They hadn't had any rights in nearly 100 years. They're still driving 50 model cars down there. Same thing in Peru. You go to Peru, you'll see a 2020 vehicle, and then you'll see a 1949 model go by. Tires so wore out, you can see the air in them. These double-decker buses, and not just two decks of people loaded with people. There's people sitting on top of the thing, and they're driving down there. That thing is, I've seen it.
Yeah.
And a pedestrian, you don't step out in the street, they'll run over you.
You don't have the right of way.
I'm not lying. When I first got there, the guy told me, do not step out in the street.
Right.
If they honk that horn,
That's too
you
late.
better be paying attention. They'll honk that horn and here they come.
You have to be on that.
And I just had to, right, my guy I was riding with, I just had to shut my eyes. Man, I thought we was in a demolition derby down there.
That's true.
And you go to what the equivalent of their Walmart super center, there's a wall built around the parking lot and gates with soldiers guarding. I mean, military people with rifles. Same thing at the hotel I stayed in. And if they stopped you to check your car, you stopped
Well, you better.
and you opened it up, or they would shoot you. And we've got it pretty good here. For now. But what's going on in other countries is a picture of what's going to happen here if something's not done. And I believe something will be done. That's why Babylon's falling. We're going to see Babylon fall. If I'm right, let me put that in me. If I'm right, we're seeing Babylon begin to fall. It's already started. A lot of things going on that we don't know about yet. In verse 3, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. It said all nations have joined in this system. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Now what we talked about last week, Brother Amos mentioned it, the people, in chapter 17, the horse sitting on the beast, sitting on the waters, and the waters are the people, like us. We're at the bottom. And then it's the rulers of the nations, the beast. And then it's Babylon riding on the beast, controlling the beast. The nations are going to be what brings Babylon down. For all nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of his delicacies. Now in verse 17, I'm going to skip, just add something here. For in 1 hour so great riches has come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company of ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea stood afar off. So the merchants of the earth, that's big companies, major companies, merchants of the earth, Walmart, Amazon, these people. The cake baker, the florist, they're not part of that. So if Walmart and Amazon goes down, companies are getting rich delivering this stuff. It's not just the merchants, it's those that trade by the sea. You see the giant ships, I didn't realize how big those things were. 3 football fields long,
Oh, yeah.
stacked with these cargo, how big is those cargo things?
Oh, my, anywhere from 960 to 1,400 feet easy.
Yeah, but they're stacked with
And they're-
those container,
And they're,
thousands of
and
containers.
they're somewhere in the vicinity of about 6 stories under the water. That tells you how much is above the water. They're huge. I used to have to help unload those things and load them. It's well over 100 feet down,
Yeah,
below the water line.
so think of how much money those shipping and Revelation's names trade by sea.
You know, I was talking about that just then, this last week. If you heard the news outside at Los Angeles, I think the harbor there was well over 100 big tankers and cargo ships that are sitting out there idle or waiting because they can't come in. No one's letting them come in right now. Something is amiss right there, because they've always, and that, if that's happening there, how many other ports is it happening at too?
What's going to miss?
Yeah, financial system is in a big mess right now.
Yeah.
We're reading the news
Yeah.
out of Revelation. I'm got goosebumpy. And that's why I want y'all to get involved. Look, I'm not afraid of politics,
No,
but I'm not afraid of the Walmart either.
no.
Now, imagine what kind of tribulation would go on in Shelby County.
Yeah.
If you go to Walmart to buy groceries and the doors are locked.
Yeah.
If you go to Brookshire's and they can't get groceries in. H&S is empty. Dollar store at Shelbyville don't have nothing. They ain't got no toilet paper. Gonna be worse when they don't have no bread. Go ahead.
You know, and they're coming up with all these different, diseases that come off of that virus. And I'm afraid they're gonna get to the point that if you don't have that shot card in your hand, you can't come through the door.
Well, there's airlines now that won't let people on their airplanes that have had it. So that's another way to divide people. I don't care whether they've had it or whether they haven't. It don't matter to me one way or another. The Lord's taking care of me.
That's right.
He'll take care of the ones that's had it. He'll take care of the ones that haven't had it.
It doesn't make any difference if you got that card or not, you know. It's whatever they wanna do. That's just like over there in Louisiana. They're trying to make people
Keep wearing
get
that.
the shot, because if you have the shot card, you can go in all the national parks and museums free of charge.
Yeah.
That's right.
It won't cost you a thing, but if you don't have a shot card, you can't go.
Okay, right on the other hand, what about teachers in Louisiana?
Yeah.
They don't want teachers that's had the shot.
Or the medical field.
So, which way is it? They got you either way.
Yeah, it's a no-win situation.
So what's happening? I mean, let's back up. We've looked at a few little details. What's happening? Babylon's falling.
Yeah.
They want total control. If they can't get it this way, they come up with another variant over here to get what they want.
Well,
Yeah.
let's just keep going. And in verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. It's talking about God judging Babylon. And the book of Revelations have got plagues. At the end of the book, he said, those that read the book and do it will escape the plagues. Well, you can say plagues, and they can mean a lot of different things. But what's one plague of Babylon?
All of it.
Falling. Get out of the way when it starts falling. What happened to Samson when he pushed it? He killed all the bad folks. Killed him too.
Yeah.
There was a time in my life when I was young and dumb. I'm still, I'm working on it.
I'm just old and dumb.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at, there was a time in my life that I had to have the latest and greatest trinket to come along.
Amen.
Had to have the latest boots,
Right?
hat, jeans, whatever, brand new, latest. Started out with 8-track.
Well, that's old.
Yeah, 4-track, reel to reel.
Four-track.
4-track.
Then 8-track, then a cassette, and then a CD, and they don't even put Ray's their pickup got a CD player in it. No, it's old.
Got the records.
It's old timey now. The latest greatest. There's nothing wrong with having some stuff. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. There's nothing wrong with having stuff. It's something wrong with the stuff having you.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing evil about money
No.
in and of itself. It's the love of money. It's the root of all evil. It's worshiping the stuff. It's not buying groceries for your family so you can go get your latest whatever. Come off the assembly line, Take care of your family first. Well, you worship God first, take care of your family, and then God will add these things to you. But things are not evil. Worshiping the things is.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And this financial system is constantly bombarding us with advertisements and commercials. And don't you want this? And we found this that you might be interested in. And bang, bang, bang. That's one reason I got rid of that stinking TV. I got so mad at it. So many commercials would come on, I would forget what show I was watching.
There you go.
I would.
Yep.
I counted them one time. I want to say 30 in a row. Count them sometime. And it might not have been that many. I don't remember, but it was too many for me. And it's the same ones. Oh, and oh. And they think I'm so stupid that I'm finally going to buy it. And
Makes me mad.
I heard Ann in the kitchen. She'll answer that phone. I'll let it ring.
Me too, I don't know.
She answered it. She said, okay. She said, that don't sound like something I'm interested in. Click. Trying to sell her something.
I said, yeah, what do you want?
Some people just like to mess with them. Constantly bombarding people. How many people will buy something they don't need and don't even want because it's been constantly drilled in them? I used to do that. That's why I'm guilty. I used to do that. And if people ask me now, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want? Well, I don't know. I got everything I need. I'm not affected by that anymore. I got really all the clothes I'll ever need. They're out of date. I don't care.
When you get a certain age, you just
Mine-
lose
mine are
where you
outdated.
care and where you don't care.
So what?
How do we come out of Babylon? God said, come out of it, that you won't be partaker of it. If he's telling us to come out, then we're gonna be here when it falls. Somebody, if we're still alive, we'll be here and watch it fall. Well, nobody's raising a hand.
Yeah. Well, you know, talking about it like that, the financial system, it is in real choppy waters right now, or in a hurricane, or whatever you want to call it. Once it goes down, and it will go down the way everything's going, because this word says it's going to. When that happens, you've got to remember, even the people that they think they're innocent or whatever, they'll only have 3 days on the average of food and supplies in their homes. And watch what happens after that. It's total chaos. And, and people they're not prepared for any of this. They don't think it'll ever happen. And that's because they keep on those, like you said, those advertisements all the time. They want you to stay in total debt to them, always. If you ever get out of debt, that's a no-no. They don't like that. They want you to be totally in debt, all the way maxed out on everything.
Well, it's a mindset too.
It sure is.
When I was coming up, all the little stores, there's a lot of little country stores, and all of them had tickets. You go in there and charge it.
Yep.
Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Come in when you get your paycheck, pay for it. Never get it paid off. Because once you get last week's paid off, you got to eat today.
Yep.
How you gonna do that? You just spent all your money paying off last week. When you finally get the old car paid off, it's wore out, you gotta go get another, and you can't pay cash for it. And I never understood how my daddy, who lived on a Social Security check and veterans pension, which was about less than $500 a month for both of them, he'd go and pay cash for people.
If people aren't careful, and sometimes we've been slouchy ourselves, you can enslave yourself to death.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what God's talking about, bringing yourself out of Babylon. But, it's just, are you working to live or are you living to work?
That's a good way to put it. And it's all those things.
Yep.
I'm not against borrowing money, as long as it's not controlling you. You can use credit as a tool, or it can use you. You see what I'm saying? And really, the people that have got good jobs and making good money, they want to loan you money
Yeah.
because they know you'll pay it back.
With interest.
The ones that have bad credit scores, they don't want you because they can't make any money on it. Turn it around on them. Look at it from their point of view. Bankers are not bad people. I know a lot of good Christian bankers. It's the ones controlling the bank. There's people over them
You got it.
that are really making money. So, are we getting an idea of what Babylon is? A little idea of what it is, getting a definition for it.
So is it not just a city? It's
It's
not
not.
just necessarily a city.
It's not just a city.
Well, it'll be in a certain city, but it's global. So it's gonna affect every single person around the globe when it does fall.
Yeah.
But it's all from that one city.
It's what's
The main
controlling
control.
the nations right now.
I don't like Washington DC.
Yeah.
They're all
Go ahead.
burned, all
It's kind of like what Amos said, that you know, people don't keep that much food for 5 days, you know, usually, you know, in their homes. I mean, a lot of places you go for 3 weeks, you just run out of something needed. But it's the same thing for the grocery stores. If they can't get trucks, you know, I've heard for years, the stores literally have 3 to 5 days worth of food, just take Center, for instance, to feed Shelby County. Because they get trucks every day to restock it. And, you know, for some reason the trucks don't get there, you got, how many people in Shelby County, how long's that food will last? And then when you can't get any more, you know, you're gonna get a real reality check quick.
Everybody likes a toilet paper.
Well, what there is, you know, people start to get hungry, they'll start to fight over it.
Yeah.
Better start saving your magazine.
Sears catalog.
I have that shiny paper.
Yes.
I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit because let's just look at, let's see. Verse 5, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. This has been going on a long time. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she has filled, fill to her double. So it's not just, if God's bringing judgment on this system, and he's bringing wrath on the system, there are people involved.
Absolutely.
And the devil's using people to do this. How much she has glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her, for she saith in her heart, I sit as a queen, I'm no widow, I shall see no sorrow. I'm way up here where you can't touch me. You lowly peasants.
We're hearing that today.
Yeah, and I got people in mind, I'm not gonna name them because I'll get off track here, but you've heard them say that.
Yep.
How dare you, lowly peasant? Listen, if a poor old country boy in Shelbyville, Texas is getting this, if are y'all getting this?
Yes.
Yep.
Then there are people everywhere that's getting this. This is that angel going through the heavens, hollering, Babylon has fallen, come out of her. Get out of the way, it's falling. And God will always take care of his people. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this so when we see it happen, oh, what am I going to do? We're going to trust God.
That's right.
We're going to do what we've been learning several weeks, works of faith. We're going to keep on doing just exactly what we've been doing. Works of faith. Live right, act right. When we don't do right, repent. And that's basically what we talked about for 11 weeks. That's what we're supposed to be doing while all this mess is going on. There ain't nothing we can do about this anyway. Where was it? Verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God that judges her. Back in Revelation 17, the nations will burn her with fire. They hate her because she's been running them. The nations will bring her. God will use the nations to bring this system down and burn her up, destroy. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off.
Yeah.
for the fear of her torment. Saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city that kept them in power all this time. The Babylonian system will fall fast when it starts happening, and it started, I believe, that's just my opinion. It started fast. It's going to happen fast. It's been corrupted and completely taken over by Satan, and in God's time, it's time to judge that system. And we've already seen where Christians will be on earth. We're not taken out before this happens. We're going to see it. Ones that are left here will live through it. Verse 11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore.
Shelter in.
Now, do you understand what that verse says?
Yep.
It's so simple. Been there all along. Why are the merchants weeping and wailing? Because they can't sell nobody nothing. Go into Walmart and fill up your buggy and buy something that don't come from China.
Yeah.
You can't do
That's
it.
gonna be pretty hard to do.
Or it'll be hard to do. A lot of our meat, we don't even know, because they don't put it on the label anymore. They don't have to. It's packaged in the U.S. Read on there if it says it's packaged in the U.S.
That means it's from elsewhere.
That means it could come from the moon. Who knows?
From Mexico or
And
Venezuela.
I'm not saying it's bad, just, that's how we'll be at the merchants. How does it get here? How does it get from China to the United States?
Oh,
On a boat.
There's someone sitting out there waiting to get in, they can't.
What did we learn? Those that trade by sea, they're out there moaning and groaning and complaining too. I don't have any merchandise. Oh. So the merchants, the ones that deliver their merchandise, they're going down. Why are the people not buying these things anymore?
No money.
Get that money.
Too expensive, that's the first thing I wrote down. They're either too expensive or they're not available.
I was ordering something on Amazon the other day and it said, only 4 left, order soon, you know, and I thought, I am not buying this.
Let somebody else.
Shut it down and got off. I said, fully on you, telling me there's only 4 left in the world.
Open it up 30 days later, and they'll say only 4
You can keep them.
What would happen if all the Christians turned the tails on this bunch of boycotts?
Yeah.
They want to boycott the Christian businesses. What would happen if the Christians boycotted the group of businesses?
That's right.
You know, Brother Dan, the ones that are gonna be hurting right now, I mean, everybody's hurting, but the country people all over that know how to cook on a wood fire, know how to live off the land, are doing a little better than the ones in the city that have to depend on grocery stores for everything they get.
How fast are them cities gonna go down?
Real fast.
Exactly.
Better stay out of them, better get out, come out of them.
Yeah, and you're almost afraid to go and come out of Walmart with your grocery bag, card, to take it to your car, because somebody, and I've seen people watching me when I came out.
Yeah.
I'm not just blowing in the wind. And I just look them straight in the eye and rebuke them in the name of Jesus. And they turn around and go the other way.
That's scared of me.
Uh-huh.
You don't have people who want to follow you, come to our house.
Let me just read this, and then we're out of time. I didn't get to the good part. Y'all show up next time.
You'll have to finish it.
No, I'm not joking. Yeah, we hadn't got to the good parts yet. It's all good. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The finer things in life, they're part of this system. By finer things, I mean these things that are used to control the nations. We're going to look at some of them next week. But a lot of the people have become so accustomed to these things because the government supplies them.
Yeah.
Yep,
The government makes sure you got all these things.
yep.
If a car company starts crashing, what do?
They bail them out.
They bail them out. If a credit card company starts crashing, what do? Bail them out. Ray, you just got a new pickup. How many was on the lot?
3,
3. Where was this at?
Carthage.
Pretty big dealership.
There was
At 3.
5, there were 5 in Longview.
5 in Longview. Nice pickup. Thank the Lord. Been blessed.
And you know, the reason why there's not any in there, not any on the lot, is because the Chinese have a chip that they will not let into the country, and they're not selling.
But they covered themselves this last week. They said, oh, did you know that our 2 factories that manufacture those chips, they just burnt to the ground.
Yeah,
You put that on the news.
that's our taillight module, they burnt to the ground.
My trailer light module's been out for a year, and they can't get one in.
We have any trouble.
Can you see the Babylon
Babylon.
system?
Yeah.
You beginning to see what
Okay.
you see where we're headed? All right, come back next week. It's gonna get interesting.